Welcome to what I'm calling JD Hands-On, and I'm handing on skills, or I've got my hands on, and this is my first video, and today I'm going to try and make something in the workshop, maybe some wood turning, so we'll see how that goes. So first things first, we need a piece of wood to turn, and I've got some out there that we'll go choose one. Just hang on. Got a bunch of Hickory Wattle, I think is most of this. There's a bit of mango here, but this is all Hickory Wattle from the Stewart's farm. And this would be an interesting piece. It's got a, you can't see much, sorry, lighting's bad, but I think I've chosen a piece. You know, let's go back, and this is the piece I've chosen. It's got a branch sticking out the back, so that'll make the bottom of the bowl interesting. Let's go and have a look. So, here's my bit of wood. Our bit of wood, you can see a big branch cut off there. It's a kind of a half around. There's a crack there, not thrilled about. Another crack there. But this will be a small bowl, and I just want to get the process documented. And I'm trying to think of where's a good location for this camera. I think we'll try it there and see how we go. So the first things first is we've got to mount this. Well, second thing, we've chosen the wood. The next thing is to mount it, and this will be the top of the bowl, the top rim. So I'm going to mount it like this first, and then we'll turn all this business here off, and we might be able to, we can break off some of this bark, which the rubbish bin over. That'll be good to stop projectiles when we're turning, if we can get some of this off. Yeah, I might hit that a bit harder, but okay, so this one, there's a few ways of mounting wood, and this time I'm going to use a little face plate on there. And the face plates live over here. So here's my face plate. 4 screws, it mounts onto that. So we'll find the middle of this first. So I made up this template to help me decide where the middle is going to be and how big a bowl we can get. Just trying to maximize. And this is good because it's clear, so you can see what you can kind of see what you're doing. So there's my midpoint. Get my pencil, and just for the fun of it, go around. Oh, I might go there. Go around. Mark a circle, and I usually mark the center point so I don't lose it. And I draw the circle so I can slice these corners off if I want to. You don't have to, you can turn them off, but slicing them off can save you a bit of grief when you start turning a square piece. We might slice them off, actually. So I'll do that on the bandsaw. Just clean up some of this stuff. So I'll bring you over here in a second. Now the bandsaw is a very deadly machine, and we must exercise much caution when using the bandsaw. So you kind of want to do it this way because you can see the circle, but it's so dangerous, so you really need to do it this way. And I know that I need to slice a bit off each end, a little bit off each end, and a bit off each corner, so I can just do that by eye here. Just checking the blade tension. Okay, so we're going pretty good there. Still heaps to go there. You know, I'm going to leave it at that. It's pretty round. It's a bit bigger than the circle I marked, but it's just safer to not push your luck with a bandsaw. So let's go back to here. And now time for this faceplate. So I've got a circle there. I've got a mark there, and I'm just lining it up. The circle centered on that, as you do. Pick out some likely candidates for screws. Okay, now this is the top of the bowl, so this is all going to be hollowed out, so it doesn't matter if I screw into it like this. Now these screws are really working hard to get in here, so I think I might break them off when they come out, unless I'm going to pre-drill these. So I'm just going to go get a drill about the right size, and I'll pause you and come back. Okay, I'm back. Did you miss me? Okay, so the shank, or the inside of this screw, is about 4.5 mil. So I've chosen a drill that's supposed to be 4.5 mil, but it's 4.4. So that's going to be just right, I reckon. So I'll just drill a couple of holes here. I might put those screws in. Dead battery. Alright, back in a flash. Alright, back with a impact driver that's got a bit more battery charge. And we need to get it on a bit. That's a bit better. Drill. No, that's all good. All right. So we're back in business with our impact driver, and so now we've got that faceplate, small faceplate, but mounted on there, theoretically in the center. Now I can mount this onto the threaded headstock like that, and I'm going to bring up. Now I could just turn it like that. Because it's well supported there, but I will actually bring up the tailstock just for a bit of extra safety. And I'm looking, oh there it is. This is a live sender, so that spins around. Well, the rest of it doesn't. And that's going to go in there, but before we do that, I'm going to try and get more of this bark off. And this chainsaw, there we go. That was good, wasn't it? That would have all come off in one piece, right at my head, maybe. So this chainsaw spanner is perfect for this job. I'm sure that's what they had in mind when they designed it. There we go. Much more pleasing. Okay. So there's a bit of insect borer activity here in the sapwood. Don't think the heartwood gets affected, but the sapwood's quite light. So it's nice to have some of that in. And it doesn't really matter if when it's on the faceplate, if the live centers on the tailstock is properly engaged. It's kind of half in there, so that's just a bit of extra insurance. It's putting a bit of pressure on the headstock bearings, but I don't think it's a problem. So here we are, making sure that the piece can turn before I think about turning the lathe on. Got my lights all here. I'm still recording, which is marvellous. And I'm going to put on some PPE. It remains to be seen how good this recording is. And I've got a selection of chisels here. I'm going to choose. Oh, this really needs to be sharpened. It's gone rusty. Alright, we're going to do some sharpening. I'll bring you around for that. So here's the sharpening setup. These tools, turn the light on so we can see what we're doing. Yes. So this is a whetstone. It's a dry whetstone. So we have to add water to get a whetstone. And I do it like this just so it soaks up the water. Okay, now I'm doing doing 2 bevels here. So this first bevel is just a relief bevel. It's about the cutting bevel, or this sharper edge around there that hasn't been sharpened yet. It's just so I don't have to sharpen as much for that pit. And the way I sharpen that is it's about this position here. So down will let me sharpen the proper actual cutting edge. Let's move you around a bit. Assuming you can see that. So I like to start off with roughing out with this really big chisel, which is I think it's 19mm. Says it there somewhere. Anyway, I'm just going round and round like this, and you'll notice the stone's drying up because it's soaked up all the water. And now there's none left in that water bath at the bottom. So I'll just top that back up. Now we're running in water again. And the idea of the water is to keep it nice and cool. Okay, so I think this is really nice and sharp now. It's a pretty good edge for cutting. So that goes off. You get to move around here, hopefully to see what's going on. I'm gonna pull the curtain behind you so shavings don't go everywhere. And behind me as well. So this way, hopefully, we stay a bit cleaner. Okay, are we still recording? We are. And we start off slow. And then turn it up to what's comfortable. Okay, so let's see what's happening. You can see we're just taking off these high points, and I can move the tool rest in a little bit as I do that. And for these first bits where it's really chunky, I like to put a glove on to protect this part of my hand. So the idea of this first part is to get the the blank rounded off. We've got a very big groove in there, so this is going to be a fairly small bowl, and we're going to turn a lot of this lump here off, but it's good practice. Okay, so I'm going to increase the speed a bit. Okay, just moving around to support that back edge. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so we've got basically a full cut all at the back there, and now I've just got to work this part. Oh, excuse me, work this part down, and I'm gonna back off this tailstock just now and try and make that a nice edge. Got to be a bit careful here because a really deep, uneven cut could throw the whole thing off. Mounted on that face plate, still there's a lot of torque. So having done that, I think I'll bring the tailstock back up, just again as a safety measure. Give myself a bit more room. That's a bit nicer. Well, let's have a look at it. Yeah, we've got that huge groove there, so a lot of material to go if we're going for the regular ball shape. Doesn't really like turning that end grain of that branch that was sticking out. It's nearly nicely gone, but it's a bit grabby. No, sneezing is going to be a problem, I think. Okay, we're getting a bit closer to a sensible shape, and there's not much left of that groove there. I'm going to change to a smaller, this is a 1/2 inch bowl gouge, smaller chisel, and I'll just touch this up on the, let's give it a quick sharpen. This wood is really quite hard. It's fairly dry. It was cut several years ago. Excuse me, I've just got to pause this. Okay, back with a sharper 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Bring this up Go a bit closer. Okay, so we're at the point now where I think I'll get rid of this tailstock and that, and we've got to decide what size chuck we're going to use for that, for there. And as a rule of thumb about the size of the base of a bowl is about 1/3 of the diameter. This is looking like it's going to be about 250, 240. So 1/3 of that is like 60 mil. No, 80 mil. So I'm going to choose this thing, which you have I need a tenon on there about 70 mil, and that is a little bit bigger than 70 mil. Let's just tidy that up and we'll mark out where our tenon's going to go. Oops. So there's the middle, and we want a 70 mil tenon, so I'm doing 35, just a bit over 35 there. Oops. Put the light there, turn it on. So there's my maximum diameter of my tenon. So I'm just going to go in here. Tenon can be about 10 mil thick. And I'm just doing a bit of relief there. So I use this scraper to give me the right angle for the tenon. So there's a tenon that should fit this chuck nicely for when we turn it around. But that's just ready for when we reverse it. Now I'm gonna finish off shaping the bottom of the bowl. So I'm at about 1000 RPM. I could go a little higher. And I'm using this cart, which I don't know what it's called. It usually gives a pretty good finish. It's just shaving, and then I'm changing over to a push cut here, which is reliably a very clean finish. So look at the finish and how big that unmachined bit is. I think we might go in and turn all that out, which means I'm going in deeper there, because you can see there's tear out here, which is terrible. And there's tear out along here. Just going to go a bit deeper to get rid of that hollowed out bit. Push that type of job. All the way. So we should have a nice, oh, I've got terrible tear out there and there, which means we've either got a heck of a lot of sanding or, well, you can see we've just about got rid of all that natural edge there, or, so a heck of a lot of sanding, or we do more of that shaving cut, this time with the little 10mm bowl gouge, and I like using this one for detail and finishing work. Just touch up that edge. There's the relief grind. There's the sharpen grind. Excuse me. All right. So let's get some of this last bits off and see if we can get rid of that. This is the cut that should be able to get rid of that tear out. So a bit more depth just to get rid of the last bits of borer activity there and the natural edge. And then around here, we're going to do this cut. See if that can get rid of that tear out. So as I'm doing these cuts, I'm looking at the horizon here of the bowl to see if that's a shape I like. And this isn't fantastic, but I don't hate it. So a little bit more of this borer tunnels here still left, but I have got rid of that tear out there by doing that shaving cut. So I think I'll just take this down a little bit deeper. That's interesting. And try and get some of that out, and then might call that done for the shaping of the bottom, and then we'll just sand it. So wood turning's about, in my view, it's about blending curves. Because that's not a circular arc, that's made up of quite a few different curves. I can feel just a little bit of wood borer track there, but I don't mind. Sanding might take most of that out, and I don't mind the odd little defect in the bottom of the bowl. It doesn't offend me. Or the underside, or anywhere really. It's a natural product, so that's what you get. Okay, so we'll do the changeover now. I've got 10 in there, hopefully to match that. Oh no, we'll do the sanding. I'll just sand off this bottom, and the way I do that is with this right angle drill. To me it's a sander, and I've got some sanding discs here with Velcro backing that work well. A couple of magnets keep it on the bed of the lathe, and I've got different grits. Unlike professional wood turners, I can't afford to just use these once, so I'll use them as long as I can get away with it. There's a few tool marks here. I'm going to actually start with 80, I think. There's a good 80. I might change back to 60, but generally start with the coarse grit. And looking to get rid of tool marks and torn grain. I'm going to turn the fan on because I don't really want to breathe all that in. And the fan blows it away. But it's just more noise to compete with. Okay, so that's the first grit. That was 80. And we're looking for any torn grain or tool marks. Can't see any. I can see lots of scratches from the 80 grit, but our next grit, which is 120, should see them off. So, I do like to reverse the lathe on some of these grits, just to make sure that any of those little wood fibres that are laying over get stood up and sucked off. You've got to be careful reversing the lathe when you've got just a headstock with faceplate on, because it can unwind when you stop it. I can see a bit of a mark there that I want to sand out. Just do a little bit more there. Okay, and I'm just going to work up the grits. I'm just finishing this part here, that bit. When I reverse it again on the vacuum chuck and we finish the foot, that's when we do the sanding for all that. This is coming along nicely. We're up to 240 now. 320. And I might just go one more 400. This wattle's nice and hard, so I'll polish it that way. And I'm going to reverse it. Okay, I'm just going to blow down. There's dust in some of these holes. And dust everywhere. Yeah, dust everywhere. Right. So I think that's enough sanding for that timber. And so the next step for me in my process is to use a couple of products from U-Butte polishes. So Triple E Ultra Shine is the first one with a paper towel. So I get a bit of this, rub it on. And this is where it changes colour and looks fantastic. The dark colours get richer and the lights go a bit caramely. Okay, so this is a friction polish. Sorry, is it a friction polish? What is it? Abrasive wax with abrasive cut and polish. So you can see it's taking off a bit of colour to the material. The thing about this Ultra Shine is it starts out as a coarse abrasive, and the more you do it, the finer the abrasive gets. And it breaks down, I guess, and it gets nice and smooth and shiny. And we could leave it at that. It's really shiny there now. But I like to use a bit of shallow wax, which is a shellac and wax mixture, which is blocked up. So it's just a creamy liquid like that. Just put it on everywhere, and then this is a true friction polish, and you polish it in. As it gets hotter, it sort of melts and soaks in and gives you a pretty good shine. You've got to be careful about not rubbing these bits that build up back onto the job, because it'll grab those lumps and they just stay as lumps on there, and the finish isn't good in that case. So that's pretty much it for that, for the back. Well, most of the back. These can go away for a minute. That can go away. Our sanding discs can all go away. Sander. Okay, so now we want to mount it on that. So, oops. I need to take this off, this face plate. That's how I do it. So that'll come off now. So there's the bottom polished. Put our chuck, just clean up that face. Our selected chuck in. Open it up a bit. Present this little spline part to it and push it in. Now turn the speed down, just make sure it's going to run true. Get rid of that face plate, we don't need that now. Now this is where I said we might break off some of these. Maybe we need it. Number 3 setting on this 4 setting. Yeah, okay, that hard one was the one that we didn't pre-drill the hole. So you can go back over there. So now we've got our hole reversed, hopefully. Oh, coming off the chuck. The chuck's not undoing itself. Okay, we could bring the tailstock up if we were worried. Not particularly worried, but there's always danger. Here we are. Now, should we try and get closer to the action? And should we do a time lapse for this part? We might do that. Okay, battery's running low. Might not get this all out in the with the current battery situation, but I've finished shaping there. Next thing is to sand. There's a fair bit of roughness associated with where that branch was going out, so that will require a lot of sanding. So I'll get into that, and hopefully maybe I'll hyperlapse that as well. See how we go. Okay, so bring you back for just a bit of the sanding at the end. Sorry, a bit of the finishing. So there's the bowl now. I'm just putting the finished with the sanding, finished with a 600 grit on the inside. I've blown it out. And I'm just putting on the Triple E Ultra Shine now around this rim. So I've just left the square, and on the inside, and we'll just rub that polishing. Speed it up a bit. Okay, that's where the branch was heading out. That looks really nice now. Had to give it a lot of attention while I was sanding to make sure it got rid of all the bites in it, but it's got a bit of an interesting shine about it now. Okay, so I've got a new piece of paper towel. Put that Triple E away. There's my shadow wax. Rubbing that all around. Try not to put it on too thick or too thin. Even coat. And then polishing it in. You start at the middle and work your way out. And I rotate the paper towel so that I'm not getting all those gobs of wax back onto the already polished part. And then this clean towel ready to finish it up. Come up pretty shiny and nice. Because there's a few holes and defects there, but it is what it is. Okay, so we're at the stage now where we can reverse this and mount it in a vacuum truck, provided these holes don't go all the way through. Mount it in the vacuum truck and finish off the foot. And that's a bit of a process. Keep recording for that because it's doesn't take that long. So just take the whole chuck and bowl off in this case. I'll just stick them over there for a second. So this goes on here. That's the phone. I'll just excuse me. Right, so I've got the vacuum chuck on, and I'll bring the bowl back and put it on this tailstock, rotating whatever. So the chuck threads onto that and it can rotate freely like that. Now these Vicmark vacuum chucks kind of have a sharp edge in the middle, and if you squash these down too hard you get a mark on the bowl, which isn't great. So I put this piece of neoprene in there as just an extra thickness. And it seems to work. So then, having got that there, I turn the lathe onto a very low speed. It's just turning the chuck there out of some friction on that neoprene pad I just put in. The vacuum pump is on, and as I turn the vacuum on, I push towards the headstock. And this is all about just trying to center that bowl on that vacuum chuck. And I'm down to full vacuum now, so I can undo that and just watch the vacuum, it doesn't release. So it looks like those holes that we had there aren't going all the way through into this, and until we turn it down, I might. Anyway, so we're just being held by a vacuum there now. We've got to go very carefully now, no aggressive cuts. No, there's not any chips flying, but anyway, I'm going to see what's happening. It's already out of balance because that cut was too aggressive, and now it's very hard to rebalance that by hand. So I think I'm going to try, but now it's really bad. Yeah. So I could bring the power stock back up with the chuck on. Doesn't help me to finish it, but I can recenter it. Vacuum off. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll dispense with the neoprene pad this time. See how that goes. Okay, so back to a slow rotation. Turn the thing on. The vacuum's just about at full vacuum now. I was pulling that down so it stays fairly centered. Back this off. Pull it away. Try again. So I've got a fair bit to turn down, and the base, this wood is really hard. So let's see how we go. We go up to about 900 RPM. So the secret is little cuts. And I'm pushing towards the cup. Well, I've run out of battery, but finished the foot. See if we can zoom in a little bit there. So I finished the foot, and I've just done a thing of triple E, and now I'm gonna, I don't have the external microphone on, so you might not be able to hear me. Now I'm gonna put some shallow wax on it. See how it goes. Just for the final polish off. See that build up of gunk? You don't want to touch that back onto the bowl because it grabs on in a lump. It's one of the downsides of shallow wax. Okay, I think that's bottom is done. Let the vacuum off. Turn it off. So here it is, finished. And as predicted, I've got a mark there, there and there and there. So this hard edge of that thing. So I'm really not happy with the chucks in that respect, because you end up with that blemish. And you saw me when I tried to use the neoprene, it was too wobbly. So now I need to re-sand it inside and finish it by hand. But I'll tell you what, I haven't got much enthusiasm for that anymore. Anyway, that's my first video effort. I don't know if it'll turn out. You might never get to see it, but we'll see how we go. Thanks for watching.